Hi, Adam.
Hi, I'm Adam Szymkowicz. I'm a playwright. Uh, I meet with a lot of playwrights over coffee who want to ask me questions, and what I thought I would do is kind of consolidate all the questions that people ask and try to answer them here.
What advice do you have for early career playwrights?
I think the main thing is just like the best way to become a better writer is to just read and see a lot of plays and to see a lot of different kinds of plays, read a lot of plays, like study them, take them apart, figure out figure out how different people do reversals, figure out how different people structure their plays. Um, it's it's really important to both develop your voice to I mean, part of being a playwright is like figuring out who you are and writing the play that's most you. But you also have to should sort of rub up against like what other people are doing, seeing what other people are doing, understanding what a play is. In my job, I end up reading a lot of plays, and there are a bunch of people who apply to the program who don't really know what a play is yet. And I think that it takes a while to understand what dramatic action is, understand like what works on the stage, and to figure out how. And so it's all about studying plays. Read everyone that came before you. Go to the drama bookshop and tell them like what plays you like and ask them to recommend something. And when you find a playwright that you like, read all of their plays and figure out how they do what they do. But then it's not about imitating them. It's about finding the thing that you are excited about and finding the ways that other people have done it before you and using the knowledge to create your own thing. I also think that starting playwrights should write as much as they can, and then also get in a room with actors, hear the play out loud. You're going to learn about pacing, you're going to learn about things that are overwritten and underwritten, and what you thought was there and what isn't there, and what's there so much that you need to cut it back. And that's normal, and that's the most helpful way I've found to understand what the play is to hear it out loud and then hear it in front of an audience and then eventually get it on its feet. Bixby Elliott is this playwright, friend of mine, and he once talked about a three-pronged approach. I don't know if he still does all three prongs, but he basically says at any given time he's writing a new play, he's sending out another play, and he's self-producing a third play. And I think if you're doing two of those prongs at any given time, you're doing well. If you can do all three, even better. I did not do a lot of self-producing, although I did do some. But it meant that I needed to send out a lot more plays than my friends who were self-producing, just in order to get as many things going. And the only way you learn about your work is getting it on its feet and seeing it in front of audiences and understanding what the play is and what the play isn't.
Adam, what advice would you have for playwrights who are trying to find a home for their play?
Many years ago, Adam Bach said to me, as I'm sure he said to many other people, that playwrights just don't send their work out as much as they should. And he said that you really need to send to like 100 places. And I was a young playwright, and I took this to heart. And every time that I've actually managed to send a play to 100 places, something has come of it. So that's a thing that I recommend people do. And if you just do it to the calls, if you just do it to things on the bulletin board, the places who are asking for plays specifically, you're never gonna get to that number. So there's a bunch of different things that I tell people to do. One thing is to the actors you love, to the directors you love, like basically just getting it out as much as possible, having as many, I mean not as many readings, but like enough readings so that people know that it exists and know that this play is happening. But also Googling, what you do is you find plays that are like your play, or playwrights that are like you, and you see where those plays are being done. And you can go on the websites of the various publishers. Most of the publishers show where these plays have been produced, so you can just find the play that's like yours. And if it's not super famous, like if it wasn't off, Broadway like last season, so ideally you're looking for a play that's being done but isn't like the most famous play because people are just doing it because it's the most famous play sometimes. So what I would do is Google that, and you'll find a bunch of places that are doing that play, and you can reach out to these places, just cold email them and say, basically, like, I think I have a play that might fit your aesthetic, and can I send it to you? And like, I've had a lot of luck doing that. I definitely have productions because I've done that. I definitely have relationships from cold emailing places that I think might like my work. So yeah, that's what I tell playwrights. Basically, you're just not sending your play to enough places yet. These places may not know that they want your work, but everyone who is writing a play that's pretty good, like, there is a theater that is looking for exactly the play you're writing. And so your job is to just locate that theater, and hopefully there are a lot of theaters like that, and probably there are. And so really, you're doing them a favor by reaching out, because they are looking for your play. They're always looking for a good play. They're always looking for the next play that is their kind of thing. And so you shouldn't feel bad about cold emailing. I think a lot of people, it's a hard thing to do, but it really is a helpful, necessary, and it's a way to make relationships that you otherwise wouldn't be able to make.
What advice would you have for playwrights who are looking to get their play published?
Right. So I'm kind of unusual in that I work with a lot of different publishers. Most playwrights have one, possibly two publishers, but I have a lot of different publishers. And so I've gotten to know a lot of different publishers. One thing I think that playwrights don't know, unless they have like a huge hit, publishers probably don't know about your play and won't approach you. And so I think that playwrights a lot of them don't know that you need to approach the publisher yourself. Now, ideally, your play will have already had a production, and it will have had reviews that are positive that you can use for pull quotes to put on the back of the book. Like, basically, the publisher needs to know that that they have some other people who said great things about your plays. That's like necessary and helpful for them to market your play. Now, if it's like a high school play, you don't need reviews, obviously, but it helps to also have had at least a production or two, so you know that the play works. And most publishers, even the high school publishers, want you to have had at least one production. So first of all, like, you're probably not going to publish a play that hasn't already had a production. So you've had the production, you have pull quotes, you're ready to approach the publishers. Who are the publishers who do you want to approach? If it's a play for high schools, like, you're going to approach different publishers than a play that's not appropriate for high school. So the publishers of high school plays are Playscripts, Hewer, Big Dog, Stage Partners, Dramatic Publishing does some, Youth Plays, Eldridge, Pioneer, Brooklyn. Go to their websites, take a look at what plays they're publishing, see if, like, the play that you have fits with those. Now, if it's not for high school, ideally you've had like a good production that can be reviewed. And so you're going to want to, like, the two major ones are Dramatist Play Service, and who is under the umbrella of Broadway licensing, as is Playscripts. And then the other major one is Sam French, Concord. So those are the two big ones. They sometimes will let you send stuff and sometimes won't. Look on their website, see if they have a portal, or you can find someone who knows someone there who will say, this play is great, you should read it. Apart from them, there are a bunch of other publishers. You can go into Drama Bookshop and see where your favorite plays are being published. But the ones I'm thinking of off the top of my head are Broadway Play Publishing, Original Works, Dramatic Publishing, Theatrical Rights Worldwide, which is a new one, Next Stage, another new one. Applause is also starting to publish new plays right now. They're like very at the beginning of it. If you're doing musicals, they have a whole different bunch of licensors and publishers, which I don't know about. The English people have a bunch of different publishers too, like Nick Kern or Oberon. So if you look at, probably if your play isn't being done in England, you're not going to be dealing with those publishers at all. I'm sure there's some I'm forgetting, but basically, don't send to just one publisher and wait. You can send to 3 or 4 all at once. And also just, go to the publishers' websites regularly, see what they're publishing, see if your play fits with what they're doing, because everyone kind of has their own aesthetic. And the reason to get things published is that the publishers have more of a reach than you do. They'll be able to find theaters that you wouldn't be able to find. They'll be able to find colleges. They have emails that go out when all their plays are published. And it's, the different publishers are very different in terms of size. Like Sam French has 1,200 plays published. So in some ways, like, it's great to be there, and also you're one of many, many plays. Broadway Play Publishing has 1,200. So again, like, as many people may not go to Broadway Play Publishing as would go to Sam French, but also, like, you're one of only 1,200 instead of one of 12,000. I work with both of those publishers and like them both very much. They're just different from each other.
What advice do you have for writers who are trying to break into the school market?
Yes. Well, the high school specifically, the high school market is a huge market. There are 26,000 high schools in this country, which is a lot more than there are theaters in this country. And so they're always looking for new plays to do. And there's also a lot of schools outside of the country who are doing plays in English. So they also bounced back a lot faster than theaters did during the pandemic. They started doing plays like much, much quicker because they have, well, I don't know why, but it's for my plays that are done at high schools. Like, it's those plays kept getting done, whereas the other plays kind of stopped being done. So that said, a small theater might do 8 performances or 14 performances, whereas their average high school is doing like 1 or 2 or 5, like, kind of at the most, if they're in a competition setting. So you do need a lot more high schools to add up to like one even small production somewhere in the country. It's also easier to get high school productions, especially if the play's published, than it is to get like a small theater production somewhere. So every school has different needs, but they have a lot of things in common. They want good plays, and they want flexible plays. They don't want cursing. They don't want alcohol use. They probably don't want guns unless it's specifically a play about guns. They hate sex. Some schools don't even like kissing. And I think that some playwrights, me included, assume that a play for high school is like a YA play on stage, but they're very different. Like, things like YA plays can be really intense, but once students are up there performing in front of their parents and in front of their peers, like, you can't do the kind of things that are described in a YA novel that students can read on their own, like in a corner, and talk to each other about. So it's just it's a very different thing. Middle schools also, like the less intense version, like, might also be done at middle schools. Colleges, on the other hand, are a lot harder to target. That's mostly because there's a lot of student-run organizations, so every year whoever's running it changes. And also professors are trying to do, Shakespeare or whatever, like, super important play a lot of times instead of a new play that's unheard. On the other hand, like, I do get quite a few college productions of certain plays. And those are plays that are published that they find out in the world and they get excited about. And if students find them from monologues or something, then they will totally do it at their colleges. But it's really hard to email professors and get a response back, whereas you can email teachers or, there's a teacher group on Facebook that you can go to, and they, like, once a month you can post about, here is my high school play, does anyone want to read it? And a bunch of teachers will be like, yes, I want to read that. And part of it is because, they're always looking for good plays. So high schools want two different kinds of plays. They want the 25 to 35-ish, 40-minute plays, and they also want full-length plays. The 25-ish, 35-ish plays are for competitions. They want dramas, they want comedies, like any kinds of plays that are good, they want. They like plays about teenagers, but they don't have to be about teenagers. You also want plays that are really flexible in terms of cast size and gender. Ideally, you can use at least 20 actors, but it can be done by fewer amount. Teachers love when most of the scenes are for two people, because then they're much easier to rehearse. It's much easier to get two of their students in the same room together with all their extracurricular activities than to have the entire cast there all the time. Keep set and design elements like really simple. And most of this I learned from talking to a bunch of people who have been successful in this market. The most successful is probably Don Zolaitis. He is so friendly and wonderful about telling me what to do. But like a bunch of other people have been like, oh yeah, this is how you do it. This is the formula. If you want to write for this market, and it is a huge market, you should just read a bunch of plays written for high school. Stage partners, play scripts, like on their websites, they will let you read the whole play or almost the whole play, and you can see like what kinds of plays are being done that high schools and middle schools are excited about. Part of it is that you can also see how many productions some of these are had on the Play Scripts website. So the ones that are super popular, you can be like, oh wow, this one's super popular. What is it? How are they doing it? How are they doing what they're doing? But also, like, whatever you're interested in, if it dovetails with like what high school kids care about, they want that play. They want exciting new plays by all kinds of different people.
Thank you.